The killer made one tiny mistake, and it exposed the entire truth. They say the perfect murder is a myth, that every criminal, no matter how careful, leaves a trace. But in the winter of 2018, detectives in upstate New York met their match. A killer who cleaned every surface, who wore gloves, who left no DNA, no witnesses, and no weapon. For 7 days, the case was ice cold. Then a junior forensic analyst noticed something no one else saw. Not a fingerprint, not a hair. Something so mundane, so invisible to the naked eye, that the killer never thought to hide it. That tiny mistake would unravel a conspiracy of silence, expose a secret marriage, and reveal a predator hiding in plain sight. This is the story of the Pine Creek murder, and the one mistake that sent a killer to prison for life.
Part 1. The Victim and the Crime Scene. Meet 49-year-old Eleanor Vance, a beloved high school librarian. Divorced, no children, 2 cats. Friends described her as routine-driven to a fault. Lights out at 10 p.m. sharp, oatmeal every morning, church every Sunday. On December 14th, she didn't show up for work. When her colleague forced a wellness check, police found the front door locked from the inside. No forced entry, no blood, no weapon. Eleanor was lying on her kitchen floor, her neck broken in 3 places. Detective Marcus Cole, 22 years on the force, called it the cleanest crime scene he'd ever walked into. It felt like a ghost had done it. No mud, no fibers, no latent prints. The killer wiped down every single surface, including the light switches, including the inside of the refrigerator. The medical examiner ruled it homicide by blunt force trauma to the back of the skull, followed by a cervical fracture. But with no murder weapon found, the trail went cold.
3 to 5, Part 2, The Suspects and the Dead Ends. Standard procedure gave them 3 suspects. Number 1, Eleanor's estranged brother, who stood to inherit her $400,000 life insurance policy. Number 2, a bitter ex-boyfriend with a restraining order. Number 3, the mysterious man seen walking his dog near her house at 2 a.m. Detectives worked 18-hour days. They pulled phone records, clean. They analyzed tire tracks, inconclusive. They even drained the nearby pond looking for a crowbar or a hammer. Nothing. 6 days in, 0 suspects arrested. The press started calling it the perfect murder. And then, on day 7, a 24-year-old forensic analyst named Sarah Chen did something her training said not to do. She went back to the beginning, not looking for what was there, but for what was missing.
Part 3. The Tiny Mistake. The Turn. While the rest of the team chased alibis, Sarah focused on the HVAC system. The killer had wiped every horizontal surface, but they forgot about vertical airflow. And they forgot about the return vent. Inside the floor vent of the guest bedroom, a room the killer thought they'd never entered, Sarah found a single dust particle. Not ordinary dust. Under a scanning electron microscope, it shimmered with an unnatural structure. It looked like broken glass, but softer, like crushed seashells. It didn't belong in that house. Eleanor had carpet and hardwood. No one in that family owned anything made of this material. The lab identified it within 24 hours. It was a rare composite material called borazon, a super hard ceramic used only in high-end industrial drill bits, specifically drill bits manufactured by a single company in Ohio. Detective Cole nearly fell out of his chair because the only person in Pine Creek who worked for that Ohio company was the quiet neighbor who had walked his dog past Eleanor's house every night. the neighbor they had interviewed and dismissed. The neighbor named Caleb Frost. Part 4, the confrontation and the confession. Caleb Frost was 34, a manufacturing engineer, married, church volunteer. He had no criminal record. But when police obtained a warrant to search his garage, they didn't find a murder weapon. They found a workshop. On his workbench, a custom drill bit missing a single shard. Under UV light, that shard glowed exactly like the one in Eleanor's vent. But the real trap was already set. Detective Cole didn't show him the evidence. Instead, he asked one question. Caleb, tell me about the night you fixed Eleanor's back door lock. Caleb paused. He blinked twice. Then he said, I didn't touch her lock. I was only in the living room. The problem? Police had never told anyone, not the press, not the neighbors, that the crime happened in the kitchen, not the living room. Caleb had just confessed to being inside the house at the time of death. Caleb Frost, you are under arrest for the murder of Eleanor Vance. At trial, the truth emerged. Caleb Frost had been secretly obsessed with Eleanor for 2 years. He had installed a hidden camera in her smoke detector. He knew her routines better than she did. When she rejected his advances at a neighborhood barbecue, his obsession turned to rage. The murder weapon? A custom-made metal rod he'd lathed in his garage. He broke it into pieces afterward and scattered them in 3 different landfills. But that single microscopic fragment, carried by air currents into a vent he never knew existed, was his undoing. He didn't make a mistake because he was sloppy. He made a mistake because he was arrogant. He thought the perfect murder was possible. The evidence disagrees. The jury took just 90 minutes. Caleb Frost will die in a maximum security prison. The perfect murder is a fiction, written by people who forget one thing. The universe does not tolerate invisibility. A single shard of dust, an air vent, a slip of the tongue. That is all justice ever needs. Eleanor Vance never got to see her killer caught, but her house, her silence, and one tiny mistake spoke for her. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like and subscribe for more true crime deep dives. And remember, in the end, the truth is always in the details.